Good morning. Welcome back. And we'd like to start with a drill today, and just checking translators are on mute. Great. Welcome back, and opportunity to experience this complete freedom in that vibration. And yesterday it was very interesting about this aspect of game, where when we make this world big, important, beautiful, or serious, it's like the different 10 heads of ego Ravan get bigger and project life and beauty. So the method was seeing it as really small, and the words world of dolls, and that it's short, and it helps to shrink the different ego intensity. And lots, you might remember the list, maybe you want to share what you remember, but like cravings and complaints, crying, competing, and seeing how ego is obsessed, and how it's a story, and even if there's a lot of gold in the story, you can't take it with you in the real world. And it brought me this image of virtual reality, and sometimes I find visuals help me to make that bridge. So if we see this picture of virtual world, and you might be really in the game, you might be like building a house in there, or you might be, winning a lot of points. And of course, that's what the game is for. But if we think we can take some of the plastic bricks in the virtual world into our real world, then we've got confused, completely lost. So sometimes images may be helpful, visual images, world of dolls, or seeing this physical world as this virtual reality. And if you've ever had the experience of putting on a virtual headset and handset, you see how deceptive it can be. So I'd like to hand over to Prashant and really welcome any thoughts, any reflections, and how your experiments are going with the keeping alive this naturally free angel playing the angel game. Prashant can't speak, I think. He's in world of silence. Okay, we can hear you now. Good morning. Just need to unmute. Yeah.
Excellent. Hello and good morning. And nicely summarized, in this little image, virtual world. In our first day, we saw the bigger game. These invisible players, they are given this extraordinary PlayStation. This is exactly the way the soul that is conscious sees. In a PlayStation, every aspect is play, and these invisible players, they are beyond harm. They know they are beyond harm, and they know of their world beyond, their supreme reality. What an extraordinary life. And this is the life of everyone all the time. Everyone has an option to be confused and cry if they want. That option is there. But the reality is an extraordinary game. And these are eternal players. And yesterday we saw that there is a game within a game. And it is good to know the game. And this is such a game, we have no option to come out of this game. We are players, and so there is a game going on with Maya throughout. Half the time we are winners, and there has been a time when we have been losers in this game. But now is the time to win this game. And that's what we saw yesterday. And we need to continue because until we get a full victory, we need to refine our game. So nice summary. If I was to ask you, what is the one important weapon that you have to win this game? If you have to use, you can type. What have you got? How come you are so confident to win this game? What have you got?
Some answers: remembrance. We have the intellect. We have self-respect and awareness.
Good, very good.
Paris, we know the exit, soul consciousness, and Ram.
Yes, very good. All the answers are very, very good. You have got a grasp of it. The word I was thinking of, as I said, all these words are right and very, very relevant. The word is light, light of truth. In the darkness, light brings magic. If there is a straight fight between darkness and light, light wins hands down. So if it was the equal amount of darkness and the equal amount of light, light wins. So Ravan is embodiment of ignorance. In ignorance, he is the king. In darkness, he is the king. If you bring light of truth, then Ravan dissolves. What a beautiful thing to know. But there has to be light, not talk about light. That's the difference. So there can be many books on truth and many books on knowledge also. That is, we can listen to the ideas. But during the seconds and minutes you are in light, Ravan dissolves. It is as powerful as that. That's why victory is guaranteed if we use light. So let us create another minute of light. So during this minute, we use the best sight, best intellect, and of course light. And then you are seeing obvious. Then there is no confusion. In darkness, a story cannot be seen as story. Darkness means that something obvious, you miss out on these things. You are seeing that there is a little story on one side and there is a big world beyond. And this is the Alokik world, an eternal world. In this world is the family of invisible players. Small little family of the Father and his invisible souls. This is the happy family, loving family, extremely lovely. This is the eternal reality. They all remain happy and lovely and loving and lucky. as long as they stay behind a line. They stay in that truth. The story is also an extraordinary story. They, of course, come in that story world. Invisible players will, of course, be on the playground. But they stay behind the line, that is, stay in truth. That is all. For those who use the best sight, best intellect, it is natural. They understand everyone is lovely, everything is good, and everyone is good forever. As we go through our journey, we remind ourselves of this extraordinary truth, the most beautiful truth of all souls. And when we say souls, it is human souls, animal souls. Truth of all souls is good. All life on earth. Om Shanti. I'm using the board. One philosopher by name Campbell, he says, who is the enemy? It is his statement, but it is a nice way of saying things. Who is the enemy of Christians? What would you say? Or, I might put it differently. He uses the word enemy, but I might say, what is the obstacle for Christians? That is all. No, he doesn't ask anything more than that. What is the obstacle for Christians? He uses the word enemy.
So we have Satan, Ravan, self, Christ, religion.
Yeah, he himself says Christ, because people get so attached to Christ that it prevents them from going to God. So obstacle to Christians, he says, is Christ. So what is the obstacle for you? What is obstacle for spiritual effort makers, you?
Maya, the self, one's sanskaras, false identification, body consciousness.
One can, answers are right, but I am using this line of thinking as Campbell. He says the enemy of, and I would like to say, enemy of us, for us, the enemy is this role. For me, the enemy is Prashant. And if there is Harry, making spiritual effort, the enemy is Harry. For the soul, you get stuck with that role so much that it prevents you from going beyond. So if I'm to use this, our sketch again, and I like to show our famous drama going on here. And in this drama, there is this role you are associated with, and in time, your whole mission is to defend and protect this Harry within this drama. there is a little story going on there. And that their story can be, we have used in the past the image. Yeah, someone is acting as a camel, an elephant, just a simple image we used. Mary is acting as a camel. And I will let me use the name here. And you can think of a name. Say Anna is acting as an elephant. So we said Mary is acting as a camel, Anna is acting as an elephant, and someone else is acting as a dragon. And there is a drama. When we use the word body consciousness, darkness, ignorance, crossing the line, it literally means Mary thinks she's the camel. And it is such an entrenched identification with the camel. And no argument about it. Everyone else sees you as a camel. It may have happened gradually, but right now, this is the state. And one who is acting as an elephant, she thinks she's elephant. But it also means the reality of Mary is shut down. She is not in touch with Mary, doesn't want to know that the Mary exists, and doesn't believe, maybe. Some said, don't believe that there is Mary. Even if you tell you are Mary, she says, okay, this camel is Mary. You call the camel. This is the scale of our ignorance. Don't know that we don't know. Our effort is to help Mary become conscious again. That is the effort. Mary realizes she exists, and that she has parents, and she has a home, and she has a life, and she has different treasures. And this whole drama of camel and elephant is a joke and a stunt, and it is meant as an entertainment. It is not there to suffer. If camel prevents, or elephant prevents camel from singing, it's a joke. It is not something to get depressed about. Singing camel is not allowed to sing. This example is given, but this is our story right now. When we are talking about a victory, it is at this level victory. It appears so simple. Why are we holding on to this? There is a role we are playing, there is a body we are using for this drama. We understand it. We may even be telling others about this. So why is there such a, why such a big deal to wake up? Soul should be able to come out of this. He understands how absurd it is to continue thinking you are the role. In this case, Prashant, I am Prashant, and trying to make Prashant holy. This kind of agenda there, trying to make Prashant soul conscious, and Prashant should go to golden age. This can be going on. It is so. What is the obstacle? Why soul consciousness is not straightforward once we have understood it? Do you want to tell? What is the obstacle here?
Attachment. The camel consciousness doesn't want to die. Ego, Maya, attachment to the role habits.
Yes, and the ego that we have created here, it is in the ego has its own life to understand this. And the ego around many things within this. We saw the whole range of identities that exist, but lots of it are around the camel in a different ways. You are so obsessed with this camel, and this ego have been nourished over a long period of time. We have made them bigger and bigger. In the beginning, there is the excitement. Someone is praising my head. I like to hear it, however ridiculous it is. Like right now, I'm talking about these ideas and I'm telling about ego and all, but someone praises the head. Something within me, I notice this. Even today, someone praises the head. Something inside like to hear the praise. Someone praises the shoes, like to hear the praise. And what is it? That ego is there waiting for the slightest crumbs to take them. And with all this, ego gets bigger. If this understanding itself is not there, he's actively going out to get a bigger head so that more people can, impressed with his head. So this goes on, the game of the ego to get bigger and bigger, and in the name of happiness. All along there is happiness going on. And now when the ego is big, and you are telling, I'm becoming soul conscious. This is all ridiculous. I want to drop this ego. The ego says, no way. No one wants to die in this world. Even an ant or an insect don't want to die. So the ego gives a fight. The ego is stubborn. It wants to get more praise. This kind of ego can adapt and can change its form a little bit. That's why ego can take the form is, I am a holy camel. I am spiritual effort maker camel. So ego can just adapt to something else. And but you are still in that same camp, camel, elephant camp. And nice ideas of the soul, but not soul conscious. So there is no light. Now this ego, when we use the word Ravan, we are meaning this. All of this is Ravan. We said Ravan's department is the big enemy of the soul. Prevents you from experiencing the wonder of the soul, the angelic bliss, angelic happiness, and great family, immensely lovely family, company of God, worthiness to be with God, immortality, and also the wonder of the Dharma. When the soul is conscious, he experiences all this. And the ego is the only thing that prevents you from experiencing. And that is the success of ego and Ravan. And so as Ravan gets bigger, then heaviness comes of different kinds. In the beginning, there is excitement, but each of these I should show them in different color. Each of these they're innately insecure. So there is a beggar agenda of the I. Constantly wants more. Please praise me more. Please, you give me company. In begging at every level, various kinds of desires. You give him what he wants more. Each I has an agenda of a victim. He sees himself as a victim. Someone may just say some word, he thinks he's a victim. And Icha is dependent on so many things. So it's a slave agenda. Ravan is a demon, but he's also the beggar, he's also the victim, also the slave, all the time. Most people, they are trying to solve their riddle of life. And their idea of solving the riddle is making this ego bigger. Why? They want a bigger head so that they can get, a little more praise. So they want to make this ego bigger. Just see the life of all the dictators of history. If you see their lifeline, there is more and more misery. They die a miserable death. A dictator is one position where ego gets big at a fast rate. It is in the fast lane. And so when ego is so big, beggar is big and the victim is bigger. He will take offense at the slightest thing, and the slave is bigger. And the demon is bigger also. So that is the heaviness. You can't stop this. As someone gets success, celebrity, and fame, they find themselves in this trap of Ravan. And it is like a greatest wisdom to aim to win this game, and all that you are doing, removing Ravan before the beggar and the victim becomes too big. We are not waiting for pain to teach us. We are going to see one video right now, and this video shows us some phenomena, human phenomena that is going on, and it might increase in time. So we'll meet after this short entertainment.
There was just a question or two. Should we ask after the video?
Maybe before.
Okay. Yeah, just a little earlier, maybe it's been clarified since, but when you were introducing the subject question, but we can't kill the personage. Isn't it necessary for the soul? When you were talking about camel and elephant, is that not why we are here? Is the question clear?
Do we need ego? Is that a question?
Well, the sense of self, perhaps. The word is personage here, but can't kill the. You were saying the enemy is Prashant, or
sure.
Yeah.
Mary acting as camel. Mary has a sense of self. She knows she's Mary. When Sean Connery acting as James Bond, he knows he's Sean Connery, and he has a home. He wants to go back. That is more important for him. If he starts thinking he is James Bond, if he really was to believe that, then he will be sent to the hospital. That is abnormal in us identity. So also here, Mary need to know she is Mary, but acting as a role of a camel. In the same way here, in our bigger drama, you, me, we remain invisible actors. And if for some reason we believe that this role is I, we understand that is abnormal. And that's why we want to change it, because it gets worse. Yeah. Any
okay.
other?
Yes. And a little later on, when you were mentioning someone praises the hat, and you said you can even notice a little bit of happiness, like something inside likes to hear it. And the challenge is that that appears so normal, so ordinary. So the question was, isn't that natural? And you went on to clarify that it is like a bait, and we become beggars. But do you have anything to add to that? When
Yeah.
It
you know,
almost feels so innocent, and we would
yeah,
definitely rather someone be nice than not nice,
yeah,
ordinarily.
yes. One the sister, she gave a nice example. Her neighbor, she asked her, can we leave this sofa at your house? Because they are moving the house and they will take it away after a month. So this lady said yes. So that sofa was kept in her house. And some other friends would come and say, oh, this is such a nice sofa. Can I touch it? It's so good color. And this sister is sort of listening to all the praise and says, not mine. It belongs to someone else. Next day someone else comes, oh, so good, what is so far, where did you buy it? So can I touch it? And she says, not mine. She saw the difference. If they were to praise one cushion even, there may be a little happiness there. But they praised this sofa, there was not the same excitement because it was not mine. And you are a guest in that setting. In the soul that is conscious, he understands he is a guest here. His happiness is based on another different reality. During the seconds you forget this, then instantly Ravan is waiting to trap you. And the ego will try to grab these little titles, collect more feathers in his head.
So question, the praise is good but should not be accepted. Is that right?
More important for us to stay in a higher self-respect, and then you won't be affected by that. We all know, say someone comes in a house and says some, praises something, it may be from the same house, they praise some stones, they praise something, they may try to flatter you. But if you are not having an ego based on it, it doesn't mean anything. Ego is the one who is interpreting it as his currency. It appears natural. We want to step out of it. For us, what is natural is something different.
The natural
It is
norm.
innocent. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the natural normal for the soul.
Mm.
So you're saying it appears innocent, but
Yes.
dot, dot.
Innocently, we feed the enemy.
Mm.
And then suddenly the enemy becomes big, and he minds. They come in the house and didn't praise your sofa, you will mind it.
Someone's saying we have been brought up by praise from parents, and we may continue to do the same with our children. But what you're saying, we need to create a different culture.
The first thing is to bring about a genuine shift in ourselves. We need to get that victory first. And naturally, it will then affect, once you know the greatness of the soul and the wonder of that dimension, you yourself want to be free from, you don't want to encourage ego. Otherwise, many people think it is a success to grow in the ego. You understand it is a problem, your problem, and not anyone else's problem.
It's like acknowledging the effort is one thing, but lavish with praise is maybe not helpful for the other person. So maybe we continue, and if we wanted to show the video.
Yeah.
So you want to introduce the video, what it is?
It is self-explanatory. This is a video in one with South Korea, but it tells you as we go further.
You won't find any convicted felons or hardened criminals at this South Korean jail. Rather, inmates at this facility enter voluntarily. They're locked in cells for 20 hours a day without any contact with the outside world. No phones, instant messengers, or emails. The complex is the brainchild of Kwon Yong-seok. As a former prosecutor, Kwon worked 100-hour weeks, which began wearing on him both physically and mentally. That's when he and his wife decided to create this facility called Prison Inside Me.
My husband was overworked by his career. He always said he wanted to spend a week in prison solitary confinement. That was the initial idea. We put the idea into action after realizing that many people leading a modern lifestyle needed a place like this.
Prisoners of all ages and from all walks of life come to the facility for spiritual healing. All inmates must follow a strict regimen. The day begins at 6 a.m. sharp as the chant of a Buddhist monk blares through the speakers. Meals are handed out at scheduled times through door cubbyholes. Each cell is about 5 square meters and comes equipped with a window, heated floors, a tea set, a small table with some writing instruments, as well as a yoga mat, and there's also a panic button in case of emergency. South Korea is one of the most overworked nations in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Workers clock in more than 2,000 hours annually. That's nearly 300 hours more than the OECD average.
It's good to get plenty of rest and have time to myself. I was on my own time. As a work assistant, I always put my bosses first, but this made me realize I should spend more time on self-reflection.
나 자신을 좀 돌아보는 그런 시간을 많이 가져야겠다. 약간 이런 생각이 많이 들었던 것 같아요.
I've been at my current job for 6 months, and in that time, I've been driving forward without any rest. Through this opportunity, my mind has been able to recover, and I hope to keep going forward with this mentality.
Despite the jail-like atmosphere, operators say the purpose of the facility isn't confinement or incarceration.
A person's internal prison could be based on past experiences, one's own disposition, personal relationships, or actions. Our goal is to help people discover and escape from those obstacles.
Many inmates here are repeat offenders, coming back to the retreat on numerous occasions. Unlike actual prison, though, they're more than happy to return. Shane Hom, CGTN, Hongchun, South Korea. You won't find any
What do you think is going on there? What are they trying to achieve in this prison?
Solitude, to reduce Ravan, to get acquainted with one's true self and to get in touch with the self.
Yes.
Remove ego, peace, mental rest, connect to real I, freedom, ironically.
What we are really seeing, they want to lock Ravan. As we saw earlier in the success. If it is all going in the stomach of Ravan, then they want to lock Ravan in the prison. And they 1 week in the prison, they want to pay money so that they can stay in the prison. And some peace. Ravan becomes a little bit smaller. There is some peace. And as this celebrity culture is going to spread, and as our present ego-based culture is going to spread, the world will need more prisons like this. What the option, what you are offering in your victory is not just to lock. That is best they can achieve in a corporate setting, create a prison. But your aim is to remove the demon, and how you are going to remove the demon, you need to follow the program. You need to know the game. It's a process of using light of knowledge, understand the game. So it is a big success for you, me, if we take that area, reflect on this, understanding the game properly, taking steps, and victory should be seen on a daily basis. It is not that all of a sudden there will be victory, in heaven. No, you will see Ravan becoming smaller on a daily basis. And we saw Ravan's manifestations, complaint and cravings and, comparisons and concerns, all these small vices of Ravan, that department will become less. So just coming back to our department of victory, what is our starting position to win? The strategy, and for that we always need to know the starting position, where the ball is and where the players are. So starting position for all of us is that there is a confusion. We might as well accept that if Mary thinks she is the camel, there is a confusion. Confusion leads to bondage. We saw that is slave mentality. You become, the whole drama, the whole physical world has become like a web for the invisible player. Bondage presents in different ways, and a sign of bondage is drama. Something happens in a drama. If you suffer, that means there is a bondage. Something happens in the web and it doesn't bother me, it means I'm free. So if it affects me even the slightest, then it means there is a bondage. So this invisible player is caught in the web, is in bondage. But he doesn't even know that he's in bondage. What does that tell you? Someone is deeply into bondage and he doesn't even know that he's in bondage. It means he's unconscious. And when the player himself is unconscious, his enemy is in charge. He's running the life and the mind. So the enemy is in control of his mind and life. So every thought that is created by the enemy. It is nothing to do with you. It is like all this ego, your life is not semi-you, semi-ego. Ego is part of you. No, ego is, we saw earlier, it prevents you from experiencing your celestial truth, that richness of the heart and richness of the head. Single most factor that is an obstacle is this ego. So this is the starting position of everyone on the planet, and this applies to you and me. The invisible player is, first there is confusion, he is in bondage, he is in the web of this drama. He is not even conscious. That's why we are talking about Sanjeevani, and that's why the whole effort to make him conscious. And there is an enemy. This enemy is using the letter I, and we might think, yes, and I am making effort, but the real player has to be made conscious first. But game also can be very quick. It is good to know the starting position, and we have to check if how we are addressing it, if anything is changing. This image that you see many times, it is important for us, for our reminders, because this is like a mirror for the invisible player, helps it to be revived. So game starts, we use the sight, light, intellect, but let the invisible player be conscious even for a minute and understand what it means. Even though I'm drawing and talking, at the same time, let us all come in the experience of this invisible player who is independent from the story. He understands, he's independent from the role, story, the whole thing, not mixed. During this minute, we see this freedom. And the invisible player, for him to be that alokik is normal. That is a very important word for him. Unearthly. He is not from that camel and elephant world. He is from beyond. And it is normal. To be immortal is normal for him. We are experiencing this. Who is saying this? It is normal, that invisible player. To belong to that sky is normal for him. That world of complete silence, that is normal. Not to need anything from this drama is normal for him. Complete independence from this drama, role, this gathering, Prashant, that is all happening in that camel and elephant world. Invisible player knows his complete independence from everything there. It all appears small. The fact that everyone else is also like him, presence and invisible, alokik, more like stars, it is normal. That they all are good, all are desireless, sorrowless, and egoless. Eternal truth of everyone is like this, and this appears normal. to belong to God, to be worthy to be loved by God appears normal to him. All we have done is use the best sight and the intellect. And this environment helps the invisible soul to become conscious. And this new perspective we are seeing, perspective that is not mixed with the camel and elephant. Free, 100% free from the story. We realize that moment this soul is conscious in a true sense, everything changes. Then there is no confusion. He is able to see the story as story. It is a massive performance, but it is a story. And so full stop. There are no complaints or concerns in connection with the story. Story has got some script and it is great in the way it is happening. Nothing matters. To be conscious means this. You realize that story cannot harm you and nothing matters. Dragon comes, dragon goes, nothing matters. The moment you have understood the story, there are no bondages. It appears absurd to create any desire within that story world. And what for? To create ego within that story appears absurd. Just as Mary easily doesn't create ego based on the camel. So also here, the conscious soul finds it absurd. And the soul himself is conscious. So that is addressed. And when the soul is conscious, the enemy doesn't create problem. Enemy is the king only if the soul is not conscious. So all problems, all our big obstacles are addressed just by getting this invisible player in place, bringing him in place, making him conscious. Let him be the king. It is so strategic. Just by the invisible player being conscious, only he understands who his supreme friend is. If the invisible player is not conscious, ego is conscious. Ego doesn't want to remember God. Ravan doesn't want to love Ram. He may pretend to love Ram, but he has no intention to be with Ram. But if the invisible player is conscious, he understands a different game. For him, the world of Ram and the company of Ram, this is most like a privilege, most important. So every aspect, whether it is our virtues, ego can pretend to be virtuous. His slogan is, fake it until you make it. He puts banners everywhere, ego. But faking, you just become clever at faking. Faking doesn't make, that is different skill. But here we have the option, to get the invisible player conscious. And now that invisible player, he is authentic in whatever he does. If he doesn't need anything from anywhere, he doesn't need anything from the three worlds. Such is his freedom. And nothing from the three worlds can harm him, even the slightest. These are very, very useful, important things for anyone. If you need nothing from anywhere and nothing can harm you, why do you need to, take sorrow or give sorrow or do anything that is unnecessary? He remains naturally virtuous. It is a different game. Need nothing and free from harm, beyond harm. Soul consciousness means this. If these feelings are not there, then necessarily we have crossed the line. Some form of ego is the king during those seconds. And that's why, as if it matters what camel does and what dragon does, what happens in the story, as if it matters. And then game is different. Once you feel you may be harmed, then you react. You compromise your virtues. When you are absolutely secure, then you are authentic in virtues. Whether you love, full stop. You are not putting a condition to love. Your spirit of service, that also becomes authentic when you are in that space. Everything falls in place. That's why this step of the invisible player becoming conscious is important and very strategic for us. The victory is here. Once you are in that space, 1 minute starts with 1 minute. It will increase. All good habits and bad habits start somewhere. And congratulate yourself. You may do some mistakes, that's okay. But you are counting on these minutes and minutes of accurate attention. You want to say anything?
I could summarize, because you mentioned those 4 things on the board. It may be nice to put a word next to them. You mentioned confusion to begin with, so you're saying Paras to counter the confusion, so that then we see the story, we see the physical world as a story, so that it's not a bondage or a web, which is the Sanjivani to revive the soul from being unconscious. And then finally, the enemy doesn't create a problem if soul is conscious. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, good.
Okay. A question that came regarding the video of Korea, South Korea. What are the Brahma Kumaris teaching people in, say, South Korea? Can they escape Ravan while working 100-hour week?
Ravan is there whether one works 100 hours or one works 10 hours. The Ravan is not based upon the details of the drama. Ravan gets bigger because of the indulgence. Someone else may be working 100 hours, but may not be, having, not everyone wants looking for a prison to go, because Ravan may not be that big, enjoys whatever he's doing, remains light. But someone may be doing no work at all, and still he might be benefited by going into that prison.
Yes.
It is the commentator, he connects, her working hours to the prison. It is his interpretation. We say that it is not just because of the work, but there is a deeper reason. And deeper reason is, Ravan has become bigger.
Okay, thank you. Another question. If nothing matters, why are we here? Is the play not important?
Nothing matters in the sense you are beyond harm. Understand that way. Say someone is turning left or he turns right. Someone comes with a blue hat or a green hat. It doesn't matter. Someone was supposed to arrive at 10, arrives at 11. Bottom line is it's a story, and don't get stressed about things. Our ego can create a stress based on petty things. When you are soul conscious, everything appears petty. So you are still in the game. We saw yesterday, you are playing a game, and you are playing game to win. But bottom line is nothing matters. If the other side scores 10 goals against you, still it is okay, nothing matters. But you play to win.
Yes, thank you. I hope that helps. It'd be nice to hear in the chat. Can we say the web is created by desires in the story?
That is one way. If I was to show, if this is the story, we get into the web one by just creating desires. Say there is a cloud there. I can create a desire that cloud will not change shape. I'm in bondage. I can start saying that is my cloud, and there is another bondage. And then I can create an identity, identify with the cloud. So someone criticizes the cloud, I take offense. There's another bondage. So same thing I could be doing with many things within this world, and get into real bondage without knowing you're getting trapped at many levels.
Thank you. There's a comment in the chat. Yeah.
Just wanted to say that in this context, try and get a glimpse that we can be completely free. When we are using the word invisible observer and invisible player, soul, it means, that's why that expression, nothing matters. That cloud turns left, right, disappears, changes shape. Someone else wants it. Nothing matters. You're free. Experience that same freedom. Experience it with this whole world. Our starting position is that. This is a story, and many things may happen here. This whole physical world may go into the black hole, and Prashant may disappear into smoke. Many things can happen. Tiger may arrive here as we are talking. Bottom line, the invisible player says, nothing matters. There's a story. You get a glimpse of that feeling, and that connects you to the higher experiences. Otherwise, it's a drop of poison, just some concern what might happen here, that prevents us from experiencing that higher consciousness. And it is, we play it for 1 minute. Take that extreme position just for 1 minute. That helps you to experience the wonder of the soul. Yeah, please go ahead.
Quite a lot of different questions actually, but for someone who is maybe new to these ideas,
it may be good to save some questions for later.
Yes, maybe just one we can ask. Now, you made it very clear earlier that there is no ego doesn't give us anything, but if someone is new to these ideas, we are used to hearing a different model which says that we somehow needed ego to cope with problems, that it wasn't useful once. So maybe you could say a little bit more about how you're defining ego as false identification, and just to clarify for someone who's asking from the Italian group, why the ego, because the question is, does ego have a positive side, and has it not helped us in the past? Yeah.
Sure. Here they're taking the example of Mary and camel. Mary thinking she's camel, it is not going to help anybody, nor Mary, nor camel, nor other people. Ignorance, confusion, and it is delusion. It is going in that direction that is destructive. All round loss. If you got a gardener who is confused, there is a loss. You may need to keep another gardener to protect the garden from this gardener. Same thing happens in our life. The moment we cross the line into confusion, it's a problem. Ego, the way we define it, it is embodiment of confusion and ignorance. It's a product of ignorance. Because we don't know the option other than the ego that appeared normal, but we have a higher option. Come out of this confusion, and then you realize we, human race, has much better future. We at the moment are ready to destroy this planet many times over at a global level, because of ego. But same thing is happening at many smaller levels within the family. Ego is the one that spoils our lives. So we don't need ego to decide for us. We will be better without confusion.
Thank you so much. Yes. Just maybe one, it might be a short question. Someone's asked, I can't choose my paper, my test paper, and I can't choose my game. I think it was connected to something you were sharing a little earlier. If you just want to say anything.
And the game is simple here. To come back to this, these four things and that we saw, we want to overcome this. Sometimes good to just sit, with some sketches, paper, pen, and see, if once I have understood this, if I totally understand we are the invisible players, then why that invisible player is not seen? Why am I not aware of this? Why the attitude is just opposite? Try and observe some of these ego-based our attitudes. We have to, as we mentioned sometimes in the past, we have to start where we are. We all are roughly at the same level. We have to start from there. 1 minute, 1 minute. Once you start that process, it changes the game. 1 minute of victory, congratulate yourself. We need that energy of encouragement and congratulations, and it is a process of fun, and the whole journey is a journey of happiness and fun.
Thank you. Would you like to share a reflective question for the room discussion?
Sure. What is the other option to the prison, paid prison? How are we going to lock this Ravan in the system?
Nice. Yes, we can, very vivid image of this prison to put Ravan in, and what can we do? It's nice we have this option to reflect on it. So we'll take, it'll be just about 10 minutes. So if you get a chance to allow everyone to say something, and then we'll be back and welcome Sister Genti. So enjoy. See you shortly. very warm welcome back. I hope that everyone is safely back from the room. And we are now going to go straight to Sister Jinjiben, who's joining us from London. And you, I think, all know, but if not, Jinti is the administrative head of Brahma Kumaris. So, we are happy to welcome you today and look forward to hearing or sharing on the topic, and we may get a chance for questions, so do write them in the chat. So Om Shanti and warm welcome.
Om Shanti. Happy to be with all of you again. And it's a beautiful topic, the game of life. And I see how there are three different things that we're dealing with in this particular topic. Firstly, we're dealing with the games that go inside my own self, and to what extent I can recognize what it is that's going on and how it is I need to respond to whatever it is. And then secondly, there's a whole game that goes on here within relationships, and not just here on the internet, but actually at home with my family, at work with my colleagues, and there's many things that come in the way there, but also great joys that come in too. And then thirdly, just looking at what's going on in the world around us and our responses to that. And at this present moment, that's a very, very big game that's going on. So let me start inside, because Baba's method is to make sure that we always begin by going on that inner journey. And so when I look inside and I ask myself, what is it that allows me to play the game calmly, clearly, strategically, and know that I'm going to have victory? In the early days, I'm thinking about the things that we've been told about for the Olympics in Greece. It wasn't so much a question of competition, but more it was a subject of personal excellence, being able to motivate each individual so that they were able to give the best of themselves and have that satisfaction that this is what I'm able to do. And so whatever else is going on, it's not my competition with anyone else around me. And my failure or success, again, doesn't actually depend on the number I claim in a race, whether I come third or fifth or second, doesn't really matter. What matters is, have I been able to give of myself and do the best that I am capable of? And so all the preparation is really to be able to expand my own capacity, my own capability and skill, because that's something that will stay with me. The success that comes externally will be applause for a moment and it's gone. And if I fail and somebody else wins, again, it's really very fleeting, because today I'll be labeled loser, but tomorrow I could be called a success. So I don't need to think too much about any of that. What I do need to think about is, am I doing things to the best of my ability? And if really that is my desire, or if it's my passion, then I'll make sure that I do what I know is right. I've had the good fortune of meeting around 4 gold medalist Olympians, and we had a gathering of them in Oxford some time ago, and one was from the USA, one was from England, different people, different backgrounds, brothers and sisters, men and women, and they all shared something very specific. They shared how disciplined they had to be in the run-up to the Olympics, not just for a month or 2 months, but it was like 18 months prior to even the Olympics starting. For that period of 18 months, there was very specific training that they had to undergo. And it wasn't just the physical training for endurance and stamina and energy and all of that. All of that was going on. But the preparation was the disciplines in terms of no alcohol, no late nights, absolutely disciplined with the time they went to bed, disciplined with what they were eating, what they had to learn to reject and say, no, I don't take that. So I'm thinking about Brahman life. And if I'm thinking, well, it's okay if I do this, it's okay if I do the other. No, it's okay doesn't work. Maybe it can for a few, but that really means that you're not playing the game as it should be. The purpose of the game is to be able to make me more elevated, to make me more aware, so that I'm more disciplined, so that then I can reach my own highest potential. And if I'm lackadaisical, well, a little bit of a late night here or a little bit of alcohol here, it's okay, it's okay. Well, that's fine. That's the choice I make. But then I can't expect that my own highest possibility becomes a reality. It'll just remain a possibility. It won't actually take practical shape. And so I have to be very disciplined with myself in terms of my rising, my sleeping, my eating, my drinking, all of those things, but disciplined with myself in another way. What is it that I'm allowing to come into my mind? And in that sort of discipline, I'm thinking about just as an athlete or a runner would be very aware of the food intake they have, the quantity and the quality. They would be totally in charge of that. But what about my mind? What am I feeding my mind? Am I feeding my mind the right nourishment? And it's a daily thing. It's not haphazard. Well, it's okay if I hear the Murli sometimes, and it's okay if I don't hear the Murli, because I'm sure that all of you have maybe reached the point of hearing Murlis. And if you haven't, then soon you will. But the Murli, the versions that have been spoken by Shiv Baba, first through the mouth of Brahma Baba, and then secondly, after Brahma Baba left, then through Dadi Gulzar, the trance medium, who only passed away just a few months earlier. She was in her 90s by then, but she had come to Baba as a young child. And so she had time to grow up in the organization itself under the guidance of Mama and Baba. It's an amazing fortune. But we have those Murlis too. And so feeding my mind knowledge which is real, knowledge which is true, coming from the Father who is the truth, the Satguru, the true Guru. I need to feed my mind all of that. And there's a time for it. Yes, you can pick up a Murli and read at any time. But the actual time for study is when the teacher is present in front of me. And I mean on a spiritual, subtle level, because the Murli has been spoken by Bapdada. And so I need to be able to be aware of this. Who is it who's speaking the Murli? And when I say Bapdada, I mean Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba both together. Baba told us to use this dual expression when we were introducing anyone to Baba. And the knowledge that has come through the mouth of Brahma Baba or through the mouth of Dadi Gulzar, it really is incredible. Everything is very precise, very accurate, and reading a Murli is almost like reading a fresh daily newspaper, especially at the current time, because the things that you're reading about in your newspapers or on the screen, on television or whatever, these are the things that Baba had spoken to us about way, way back in the 60s. And then through the latter years, Avyak Bapdada has referred to all of the situations that we now see happening in front of us. So that nourishment of truth is what is going to give me strength. Because if I feed myself something nourishing in the morning, rather than maybe skipping breakfast or maybe just having some black coffee or whatever, but let me give my mind very good, nourishing breakfast to start the day. It puts my inner compass in the right direction, the right perspective, and then I'm able to follow that compass to true north, to wherever it is I'm able to connect with Baba. And so the discipline, the physical discipline, the inner discipline of my thinking, once I've been able to feed nourishment to my intellect and my mind, then through the day, the intellect is going to be powerful enough to keep the mind on track, so that whatever the circumstances out there, I'm able to stay absolutely true to my own inner core values. Otherwise, the game of life is such that people will tell you, but you can't carry on like this. You have to accept a little bit over the top. Maybe it's a tip, maybe it's bribery, something. And they'll say, but it's totally justified. And my inner compass is screaming and say, no, there is no justification for this. And so I'm going to do what I know is right. You'll have the courage and the power to be able to make that decision and not allow external circumstances to influence you. Through the day, many, many choices that we have to make, many people we encounter. And so in terms of choices, again, to ask, what is Baba telling me? Which is the direction I should be going in? And then meeting many, many people, making sure that I create that canopy of protection of God's light around me, so that even if they are afraid, their fear doesn't impact me, because it'll be Baba's light that's protecting me, surrounding me. And so the inner discipline of checking the quality of my thinking, my speaking, my doing, all of this is going to be extremely valuable in the final tally of how well or not well I have been playing this game. And then at the final moment, what is it that I have to remember? I have to remember Baba. I have to remember my home, so that there is nothing else in my consciousness at all. And then, yes, definitely, I'm successful in this game. And it's the game of a second in the final moments. Either I'm going straight to Baba, or I'm scattered in my attention and wandering around here and there in my mind. We have a lot of time to rehearse all these things, depending on when we came to Baba. Some of us have had 40, 50 years of experience. Some of you are very new, and so you've had maybe not so much experience, but I would recommend that definitely you take that time out to just detach from action and movement to sitting still and giving yourself space and time to look at yourself from out there. See yourself as not just a detached observer. People don't like this word detachment, I can understand. But be a benevolent observer of yourself. Be a compassionate observer of yourself. And when I see myself as a benevolent observer, then the question in my mind comes, what is more important? Is it my consciousness, or is it winning this particular game or battle or struggle or whatever it is? The answer will come to you very, very quickly. When we're in a physical, gross consciousness, then of course it's society that comes first. For when I'm in a spiritual consciousness, then the first thought for anything, whether it's to check it or whether it's to do it, is to go to one, connect with one, and the guidance will come to you. And then you don't go around saying, Baba told me this, Baba told me that. But the internal feeling that you have, your own experience is that, yes, it definitely was Baba who was able to help me at that moment. Otherwise, I might have gone off in a different track. And so self-compassion, looking at myself in this game, instead of berating myself for any mistakes that I've made, instead of putting myself down because I don't have sufficient dignity and I don't know myself that well. So getting to know myself is, of course, absolutely vital. If I don't do that, then all sorts of reactions are happening, and it's really spoiling the game for me and for others. Imagine if the footballer on the pitch argued with the umpire and said, "You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It shouldn't be like this. I was right, I was right." How would it work? It wouldn't. They would be dismissed. They would be sent off the field. And so here too, sometimes as the game goes on, instead of being the detached observer and compassionate for the self, compassionate for others, without that sense of benevolence, of wanting nothing but good for me and for everyone else around me also. If I don't have these things, then something happens and I get so badly affected that I say, well, I don't think I'm going to bother to play anymore. And in the other game, yes, okay, if you want to leave the field, that's your option, it's your choice. But you're not going to be able to find the happiness, the contentment, the satisfaction that the game would actually give you. And so rather than say, cut off, I'm not interested, I'll find a different way. And of course, the best way is to be able to know that everything is fluid, everything is moving all the time. And so I have to be that nimble on my feet, on my toes, so that I'm able to keep up with whatever else it is that's going on in the drama. And so first step, really take a good look at the self as a compassionate observer. Yes, I see my mistakes. I see where it is I slipped off the path maybe, but where am I now? Do I have faith? This is Baba. Do I have love? That this is the one who I've been remembering through the whole cycle. Half the cycle I was doing bhakti, and I was remembering that one. And now I have the amazing fortune of actually being with that one. And so under all circumstances, whatever else is going on, I know I need to keep a clear link of consciousness connected with the divine. So nothing should shake me from that. My faith, my love will give me that stability. I haven't touched too much about Maya, illusion, negativity, because I think you're very aware that that's the other side of the inner battle that I'm dealing with. But I don't have to succumb to it. I don't have to be obedient to Maya. What I do need to do is to be obedient to Baba. So that's one side of the picture. The other side, how am I managing on this games field in terms of the other players, and the people who are watching, and my family at home and my family at work. Are they getting excited? Are they getting so excited that it becomes fisticuffs, fist cups later on? You know, there's a bit of boxing that goes on, a clash that happens. And I don't want that. What I want to do is to be able to play a game smoothly, to enjoy what others are doing, but also to be able to do things well myself. And if I realize that it's a game, if you win, no problem. If I win, fine. But neither is it that I get excited by my win and I get depressed by your win. No, it's a game. I need to be able to be the detached observer at that moment, but also happy that you have won. I'm thinking about a situation where sometimes people are on a field and instead of the ball being hit by a bat, say cricket, the ball hits you on the shin. Or when somebody is batting, then you happen to be in the wrong place and you get hit by the bat. Or if it's football, then instead of kicking the ball, they kick your shin. All of these things can happen very, very easily. What do I do at that moment? And I'm talking now about the game of life. On the game on the field, people would say, it's okay, let's carry on. And somehow they would be able to manage, tolerate the pain, and they wouldn't think about leaving. They'd say, it's fine. But what happens with people in life is that sometimes someone has hurt me, maybe unintentionally, or maybe even intentionally. It could be either way. But the fact that I've been hit, they've trod on my toes, or they hit me on the shin with their bat, whatever. But their words have given me a lot of grief, a lot of pain. Am I going to say, well, I'm not going to play with them again and stop talking to them? Am I going to say that, well, I'm going to leave the game and just go away? No, that doesn't happen. And so in this game of life too, at no point must I say, well, I don't want to play with that one. No, why not? It was a mistake, or maybe whatever reason it was done, it happened, but it's past. I don't need to think about it today. And I definitely don't want to superimpose my memory of last time onto the situation this time. And the third thing, that when there's things going on in the world around me, I understand there's a period of victory, the golden age, the silver age, and there's a period of defeat, the copper age and the iron age. And this time is my time of preparation and rehearsal for the golden age. There it's constant victory, but now this is my rehearsal period. Let me stop here and see if there are any questions. We've got a few minutes.
Thank you so much. As always, you've probably answered some questions without realizing it, but there is one here. What should one's attitude be towards one's own children if they are not behaving, for example? Is there a danger they will see my attitude as careless if I just see this life as a game? Maybe that's a clear question.
My duty as a parent is to sit them down very respectfully with a lot of love, talk to them about the discipline that's being expected to follow. Just as in a game, there are disciplines, guidelines. If you go out of the pitch and try and kick the ball from there, it's not counted. You can even get a goal and it won't be counted. So there are always guidelines and disciplines, and it's a parent's duty, very much so, to give guidelines to their children. But the question is not to do it in anger or not to get upset about it, but very calmly, very quietly, sit them down and explain to them. And don't just tell them do, don't do. Tell them why you're thinking like this. What is it that you're expecting from them?
Yeah, main thing is inner positioning and free to play the game. And another question from the Spanish group, the experience is of wanting to be in introspection, so that's coming naturally, but also there's a feeling of wanting to escape this game, and it could be relationships with others, circumstances. Do you have any comments on it?
The problem is I can't escape myself. I'm having an issue with this individual, and I think by going here, leaving them there, I'm going to escape. But the problem was my reaction, my responses, and I carried those sanskars, those predispositions or patterns of behavior within myself. And so I can't escape that. And yes, there's a time for silence, but there's a time for engagement. And if I say I just want to be in silence all the time, then probably I'm not fulfilling the responsibility that I need to within a relationship. And yes, today Baba told us to be careful about the language we use, the words we use, and the content of what it is we say. So I'm aware, but I know that it's important to also engage and not just be a sannyasi and go and stay in my room or just stay in silence all day with my family.
Yes, some of us may have the habit of renunciation at the limited level. Maybe do we have time for one more question? A quick one, and maybe it's a very easy one. What is one habit you'd like to underline that is the making of a successful spiritual effort maker in this game of life that you've observed?
My timetable for the early morning, my time for silence, to have my conversation with Baba early, and then time for study of the Murli, whether it's my reading or webcast or personally attending a center. But if I keep those morning hours sacred for my own self-development, to fill myself with that stamina, that strength, that capacity that can help me the rest of the day play the game. So I would suggest that that is the most important thing.
Yes, like resetting every day, getting the biggest, most amount of strength and power. So thank you so much. I don't know if Prashant wants to say anything before we maybe hand over and have some meditation. Prashant, did you want to? You're muted right now. So.
It was excellent, very nice to just have Jayanti Ben with the gathering. And thank you for bringing different angles to this game. We had kept some difficult questions for you, and there are still more questions.
I think maybe you've got a timetable to follow, so maybe we leave them for another time.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, that would be the invitation for next time. We will happy to welcome you back. It would be
Sure.
lovely to, if you have a few minutes, we could share some space of meditation, and after that we'll share the information about the next retreat. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone, and thank you for Brother Prashant and Sister Sarah.